Hey everyone, I just finished the new book Ancient Wisdom for the Care of Souls by Coleman Ford and Sean Will Haidt, published by Crossway. I'm going to take you through my typical format of the main idea of this book, the research behind it, the readability of the style, and then just my general reactions to it. So let's jump in. Ancient Wisdom for the Care of Souls, the subtitle actually is very helpful and important. It's Learning the Art of Pastoral Ministry from the Church Fathers. The Church Fathers being the first pastors and theologians in the first 4 to 5 centuries, generally, of the Christian tradition post Christ, right after Christ. So, this book, the main idea of this book is to the positioning of the book is to let's take our cultural moment in I'm just going to say broadly in the West, America, Canada, Europe, etc. Let's take a snapshot of what is the kind of culture of pastoral ministry. What's the conception of what it means to be a pastor in our cultural moment right now, and then let's juxtapose that with, or maybe let's go back to the sources and let's see if the earliest pastors in the Christian church have maybe a different vision, for being a pastor than kind of what a lot of us assume today. As a pastor myself, I'm very interested in that question. There's a lot of cultural pressures to grow congregation, grow budgets, accomplish goals, be a visionary, be a leader in more of a CEO kind of sense, CEO or military or business or whatever. There's a lot of pressures that can get a little bit disorienting or seem a little bit confusing when you juxtapose that with some of the vision that's put forward by the New Testament itself or maybe by these early writers. And so I was really intrigued by the positioning of this book. And what they do is each chapter takes a core theme, and then each chapter focuses on a particular church father. Augustine, Athanasius, Gregory the Great, Basil, so on, Irenaeus. There's a lot. There's many in there. I think there's 8 or 9 chapters. I can't remember. And so each, and it also kind of, the book is organized into structures. So there's like virtues of a pastor. There's kind of theological issues of a pastor, and then there's like practical elements of pastoring and being a contemplative pastor and such. So prayer, for example. So that's what each chapter is. Each chapter provides a discussion of a theme, and a little bit of a biographical snapshot of a church father, and then section like quotes or synthesis or summary of their writings on that particular topic, and then it goes through each topic, thematically organized topic by topic. So the reader of this book gets a kind of a snapshot of lots of different church fathers, and then interesting quotes from their primary writings and some discussions of key characteristics of pastoring and the pastoral ministry kind of job. So that's what the book is about. The research behind it. This is not an academic book. This is not a hard to read book. This is not a dissertation or anything like that. This is actually, I'll say more about this in a second, but it's actually quite easy to read and accessible. So it's not highly source driven, but every chapter includes primary quotations from these church fathers. So it includes direct citations of their primary writings. It does not rely on secondary reporting or biographies, modern biographies, for example. It really, you can tell, is born out of the co-author's familiarity with the actual church fathers' writings themselves, the patristics writings, which I really appreciated. So they demonstrate a solid a solid fluency, a solid mastery of the patristic writings, which I found really encouraging. It's not very long, though, and the chapters are not very long, so I did have a sense of I would love to know more about many of these church fathers than what this book provides, but you can tell that they know their stuff, and everything is cited, and there's it's really easy to find more writings if there's a particular chapter that sticks out to you, or a particular church father figure that seems interesting. You can very easily find their writings based on the sources that are used in this project. So this is a really good kind of a map almost to navigating the patristics and who some of these men in this case were. And the readability of it, I mentioned this a minute ago briefly, but this is a very easy to read book. It reads more. I'm going to say more about this in my reaction, but I would encourage approaching this book almost devotionally. It's kind of you sit down and you read a chapter in the morning or whatever, and in that prayerful devotional kind of mindset, and you use it to spark reflection. This is not a research. This is not I'm going to buckle down and do some research kind of reading experience at all. It's not even really. I would say this is not a deep don't go into this wanting it some deep learning about the church fathers. Do this devotionally as an intro, and as kind of a spark for deeper reflection and contemplation in your own life. Approach this book that way, and you're going to find it, I think, much more fruitful than if you try to go in like wanting to learn a ton about church history or the church fathers. But if you approach it devotionally, and if you think of it in that way, this is a really fruitful book to spend some time with. It's very pleasant. It's very encouraging, actually, like tonally. The kind of tone of the whole writing project is very encouraging. And as a pastor working in our current, 2024's cultural climate, I found certain chapters touching and encouraging and gentle and pastoral, actually. And so it's more encouraging, devotional, prayerful, reflective than it is academic or provocative or challenging. In that sense. So those are some, that was just my reading experience with it, actually. And I found it very, very, very readable, all of that being said. And then my reaction, I've kind of hinted at my reaction a few times here, but I'll just sum it up by saying that I found this book very encouraging. I found it, like I said, gentle and warm. Also seasoned with like a well-informed kind of take on the church fathers. And I liked the inclusion. I liked the wide range of the inclusion of different personalities. I personally came into this with a bit more familiarity on people like Irenaeus and Athanasius, a little bit of Augustine. But there were some others that I had much less familiarity with, that it really provoked my interest to get to know some of them more. And that was a nice benefit that I wasn't expecting. But overall, I appreciate this book. I think with those caveats I just mentioned a bit ago, that don't expect an academic treatise, don't expect a deep dive into church history, expect snapshots that are kind of seasoned with some devotional style quotes and encouragements. But also, the last thing I want to say about this is a really, the spirit of this book feels to me like it's a pushback against a lot of the messages and messaging that pastors, particularly in Protestant evangelicalism, it's a pushback on a lot of the vision and definition of pastoring that a lot of us get today. And I'm really grateful for this project in that sense, that it poses a counter vision that's rooted in more of an ancient tradition that I think provides some really helpful correctives to some of the, what I would say, unhealthy pressures that come with trying to lead and grow and vision a church today. This is about care of souls, and it's about what does care of souls mean? What does shepherding mean? What does it mean to be an informed, intellectually challenged and growing, but humble and mature caretaker of the souls of people? It provides a well-rounded vision for that's encouraging. And so I think that this, as a devotional encouragement for pastors working today, this book is really wonderful. I would commend it for pastors who are tired or maybe struggling with discouragement, and especially for pastors or lay people or leaders in the church, whoever, especially for people who don't have any sense of the rootedness in the patristic writings and who these church fathers were and the kinds of things that they wrote about and did. Man, this is an awesome intro to all that stuff, and hopefully it would provoke some like deeper dive exploration of those centuries in the church's life. So those are my thoughts on Ancient Wisdom for the Care of Souls by Coleman Ford and Sean Wilhite, and published by Crossway. Thanks as always for taking a few minutes to watch.